Hi everyone, welcome to my new YouTube channel, Don Catan. I go by Donnie mostly online in the Catan scene. Decided to come up with a slightly different name for my YouTube channel, and this is my first video where I want to go over the ending of the Battle of the States tournament, which was a 1 month long tournament with a total of 10 different teams consisting of 4 players each vying for the number one spot. And just to give everyone a brief overview of who I am, I started playing Catan competitively online in October 2020. And I think in around December 2020, there was a huge tournament that was sponsored by colonists playing on Seafarers, which is one of the expansions of Catan. And in that tournament, there were various different Discord communities and Facebook groups that helped to host it, and there was like close to 1,000 different entries. I actually made it to the top 16 that tournament, making it to the semis, and lost to the eventual winner of the tournament. And because of that huge success, I was like, you know what? I fall in love with Catan, with the competitive scene, and I was just thirsty for more. And ever since then, I've taken on a leadership role in the Catan community Discord, serving as a server lead for probably almost a year now. Although I am trying to transition out of that now. So that will be a story for another time. But um, basically, I just want to free up some of my time to focus on, my personal life and do stuff like this. And I think the Discord server has been, in a pretty good place since when I first started. And in addition to playing on Catan community and showing up in various other competitive Catan tournaments online, like Catan Players Invitational and King of Catan Premier League, I've also played in real life. And I started doing that, I think, around, I want to say, late 2021. And I actually was very fortunate to get a tournament win where I actually won all 5 of my games in the second in real life tournament I've been to. And that was, in February 2022, which brought me to Nationals in June 2022. And although I didn't win a single game at Nationals, got really close on each one, had a blast, and I am currently in the process of trying to make it to this year's Nationals again, which is going to be in September of this year. Um, Now, I think that's probably enough about me. Let's go into this tournament. As you can see here, Florida was the team that ended up winning it all. They've done an amazing job this tournament. They had consistently won at least one game per round. I think it was one the first round, two second, two the third, two the fourth. So very consistent performance. You had Danny Drew on his team who won 3 out of his 4 games. Giggs who won 2 out of her 4 games, and I think the other 2 players, Kelly C and Chafa, who ended up subbing each one a game. So that's how they got their 7 wins. Great performance by Florida. Also notably, they were one of the few teams that really utilized that chat feature of this game, of this tournament, where you're allowed to actually communicate with other members of your team while you play. So they could offer you certain advice or certain feedback, and Team Florida really, really utilized that. So I think that has some merit to contribute to their success. Next up in second place, runner up, and they've gotten really close, really making Team Florida on the edge of their seat, was Team Texas, who also had 7 wins. And crazy enough, Team Texas was not doing well during the first 3 rounds of this tournament. As you can see, on the side, they were not in top 3 in any of the 3 rounds. They started off not really doing that well. Towards the end, they had a 5 game win streak, and that brought them all the way up from basically starting off round 3 with 3 wins. And the win in round 3 was the last game, also, so that's how the 5 came, right? And then in round four, they won every single one of their games, blew it out the water to get themselves just into that runner-up spot. They really know their pacing well. So you got Team Texas in the runner-up spot, getting second place, and then Team Ontario got third place with 6 wins. Again, another really amazing team that consisted of Oreo, Mr. Planks, Wood, and Ebox, and they've managed to come out with 6 wins total. I think it was also like um, it was mostly in round two and round three, as you can see here. I think they ended up round two with the first place position, and it dropped a little in round three. I recall they were close to building a 5 win streak as well. So they definitely had a time period where they just like sprinted through, and definitely had a shot at winning this tournament as well. And then I'm just gonna go quickly down the list for the teams. You had Team New York, who did take a lead in round one and stayed kind of in the top three for the entire duration of the tournament until the very end, where they just slightly missed it. And but they still did really good with 5 wins. That's huge. And then yeah, Team New Jersey that was struggling a little bit at the beginning. I think they were dead last in first round and second round, and they really caught themselves up to end at fifth place with 4 wins. Team New England, who had a bit of a hot start at the beginning, and I think they still maintained it pretty well, but unfortunately, you can't keep up with teams like Texas, who just ends up winning 5 games in a row. So here they are with 4 wins at six. And then the rest of the teams did not do as hot, obviously, as the results show, but that's how tournaments are. I still think that every one of these teams played amazingly, and I also want to give a shout to all four of these teams for making it to every single one of their games. So while they may not have played well, they had perfect attendance, and they've had some very creative games that I frankly just really enjoyed watching. So well done by all the teams here. And before I move on to more fun things, I do want to give a quick shout out to people that had like spectacularly good performance as well. So first, I want to give a shout out to Danny Drew, who won 3 out of his 7 games. His second, third, and fourth game won all of them. He also made a video on his fourth game on his YouTube channel, so I'll link that in the description. Go watch that out. Go watch that video. And then I also want to give a shout out to the rest of the players here. T. Griffin actually had 2 wins because Poetry subbed one of his wins. And I do want to give a special shout out to Poetry starting off too, because he technically played 6 games, subbing for T. Griffin on one of them and Akuna for one of them as teammate subs, kind of, which I ended up allowing in this tournament just to make things work a little bit more smoother. But essentially, he won 4 out of 6 games. So really, really great performance from Poetry, really putting Team Texas on his back and carrying them through to the second place position. And then the rest of the players here, T. Griffin, Mr. Planks, they got 2 wins each. Stevie Buddha and Oriole and Squash actually won their first 2 games, so they started off really strong, and they still kept up there because 2 wins is just huge in this tournament. Gigs, who came into the tournament a little bit not as confident as most of these other players would be, because she's a primarily Cities and Knights player, actually ended up managing to get 2 wins, so that is huge, huge, huge for her. Great performance there. And iFan coming in with 2 wins as well. Both of them through pulling a VP at the end, so that's also pretty impressive. And then you have a stack of players with 1 win, which is probably the expected out of 4 games for a tournament that's this competitive. And a couple guys here with 0 wins, a couple guys and girls here. And I think a lot of these players are great players as well. Notably, Rowan, I kind of joke around with him. Ended up getting fourth choice of placement pick on all 4 of his games, right? So he was always the 4th position on boards where 4th position was not amazing. So, or was probably the worst you could get out of the 4 options. So, some people have tough games, and that's why in such a competitive format you might end up without a win. So, Quickly, just want to show you guys some of the great team bonding that's happened through this tournament. So I'm going to show you guys some of the pictures. So this was a picture taken at the New York Catan tournament a few weeks ago, and this was Team New England, one of the best teams this tournament. They've had the best team spirit by far. I think Florida was definitely a close second, so maybe I take the by far part back. But those two teams, New England and Florida, blew it out of the water in terms of like the communications in their chats, just the team spirit they really exhibited throughout the entire tournament. And then you have Team New York here, which actually consisted of four players that had no idea who each other were before joining Battle States, and they've somehow managed to figure out who they were in real life. Probably asked around like, "Hey, is your Discord name Rigatoni or Stevie Buddha or whatever?" And they were able to link up and get this picture together. So this just is a testament to some of the bonding that has happened with this tournament, which I personally am very proud of. So now moving along, I do need to do raffles. So there will be 5 different players on this list, and what I did was basically gave everyone a number of 1 to 91. No particular order. This was done alphabetically, and players that have won more games get more tickets. So as you can see here, Danny Drew, who won 3 games, got himself 8 tickets, while like DJZ, who won one game, got himself 2 tickets. So there's a method to this madness, obviously, and I am going to raffle away 5, basically raffle winners now. So I will do that here. Not as cool as some of the Twitch streams that you guys see with raffles, but just want to make this quick for all of you because we got more shout outs and cool stuff to do after. So we have a winner at number 28, Gigs. Congrats to Gigs. Again, someone that really was helpful in this whole tournament. She was part of the admin team, and she's done an amazing job getting herself 2 wins. So I'm very happy she won a raffle. Now another winner at 33, iFan. Awesome. Alright, this guy is a G. I actually went with him to a tournament recently in Easton, Pennsylvania, and we had a blast together. He always shows up to a New York tournament. Great guy, if you haven't met him already. So, really happy he won the raffle. Alright, 71 Stevie Buddha. Another New York homie, always shows up to the New York tournaments. I've played a lot of real life games with him as well. So yeah, lots of history with these raffle winners. Alright, 82, we got Tameki. Which was someone that I met through the in real life scene actually, and she is not part of any other discords. I don't think she plays in any of the 3 major Catan discords. So really happy to have someone like that in a tournament. She's done amazing. I think she was first place out of everyone with 1 win, which means that she had really high VP counts on all of her games. We got our last winner, Squash. Awesome. All right, another, as Danny Drew would say, New York crusher on his YouTube video, which he actually is. I don't know why I did the quotes. He's been doing amazing in both the real life scene and the online scene. Really, you see him in almost every major tournament online, or he's just doing amazing, And now, so congrats to all the winners. Congrats to Gigs, iFan, Squash, CV Buddha, and Tameki. I'm going to move on to the backup raffles. So how this works is that basically each player gets assigned a number from 1 to 6. It's kind of like a dice roll at this point, right? And we are actually giving away 2 raffle tickets because there were 6 subs. And I do want to give a special thanks to all the people that helped with backing up. Oreo and the Real Ruby backed up all 4 rounds of this tournament. There were 2 players that needed to drop out due to different occasions that happened in their life from when they signed up to when a tournament was actually going to be played, which is completely fine. I was really happy they told me in advance so that I could get these 2 amazing backup heroes to jump in, and the rest of these 4 players backed up for games where certain players either had to drop out of the tournament midway or just could not show up to a game because of work or something else. So huge thanks to everyone. I also backed up I think 3 games, but I'm not going to put myself on this list. So here are the 6 backup heroes that we will be raffling tickets, that we will be raffling $5 to. Ooh, that was a close one. You see that arrow between the 2 and the 3? Wow, okay. So that is technically a 3, so congrats to Chafa. Or Chafa. Huge win there. And he definitely deserved it with backing out for Team Florida, which had a person that dropped out. So alright, and we got number 4, Jimbo Jambo, as the other winner of the backup raffles. Great job from everyone that backed up. Jimbo Jambo notably is actually not in the 4 time zones or 5 time zones that the continental US and Canada are in, but he did help us with backing up despite being in Europe. So huge shout out to him. Well deserved win there. And next up, I will like to go through some of the great highlights of his tournament. Some of these moments that are really just unforgettable. Amazing games of Catan. So the first one I want to go with is Santos in the second game of his tournament. You can hear him before the game in VC dropping a glass plate on the floor and shattering it. He broke a glass plate, and I was like, Santos, do you want to reschedule this? Like, and the other players said that too. Do you want to reschedule this? Like, maybe, you got to clean up the glass plate and everything. And Santos was like, no, give me a couple minutes. He cleaned up some of it, I guess, and then he just started playing. And not only did he play, but he also decided to start off on a 9-12 spot on his way back. So for his second placement, he went on a 9-12 wood brick, and he had no context about Real Crate, the Danish national champion, that decided to do a 9-12 wood brick spot in his world finals match. I think this was in 2018. So he had no idea of this meme, and he just kind of like did it. He was like, screw it, I'm gonna try this. And it worked. He ended up winning that game. And even crazier, this game was the only win for Team Minnesota. They unfortunately placed last, but such an epic win from Santos. Maybe Team Minnesota just gotta start cracking more plates on the floor, They'll start winning more games probably. Who knows? Moving along, we got Stevie Buddha pulling off 2 back-to-back improbable wins on some extremely close games. I think both of the games, people were not expecting him to win at all. He had setups that were very, very risky. I think one, he was like losing settlement spots, and the other, it just seemed like he was very unlikely to win. He actually was so unlikely to win, he got robbed only once on his second win of this tournament, and it was just crazy to see that on such a and it was a really, really friendly, but also like, you got players that really like to create a scene for the audience, right? I think the table consisted of Big Red Swimmer and Buckle and T Griffin, and Buckle, CV, and Big Red Swimmer are good friends, so they really hit it off. And I think that game he only got robbed once somehow, so pretty crazy, and he ended up winning. Moving along, we got T.A. Griffin and Sparrow both getting 11-point wins. The only two players to get 11-point wins in this tournament. Although 11-point wins does not really matter too much since the win is basically what it comes down to in terms of how you do this tournament. It does help a little bit with VP percentages and total VP counts. So, yeah, just cool to see 11-point wins in general. Still haven't seen a 12-point win yet, by the way. So if anyone has done one or can show me, I'd love to see it. Next off, we got a game with Wookie pulling the perfect dream devs. This is, probably a competitive Catan player's wet dream, right? She pulled a Year of Plenty, a Mono, a Role Builder, and 2 VPs as the 5 devs that she pulled. Did not pull a single night, and she blew that game out. She won with, I think it was like 10-6-6-4 or something like that, or just insane win. For such a competitive scene, you really rarely see numbers like that. So huge shout out to her. I don't remember the order of the devs. I just remember it being crazy, and I think she probably pulled a road builder at the end because when she was about to win, she did say something like, "Oh yeah, I can actually win here because I have a road builder." So maybe she pulled that at the end and didn't realize until it was her turn that that was the win for her. Great game. That was just amazing to see. Next up, we got Vamos, who actually streamed this game. He won a game against probably one of the most stacked tables of this tournament. So Bo Peng, the U.S. Nationals champion, came in as a sub for this game. DJC5 playing for California as one of the premium content creators that has decided to come back. Really, really great player. And then you got Papi Chulo, who's just been crushing it online and in person. Just you see him grinding games all the time in Catan championships. Really competitive table, and Vamos ended up winning this game. Very, very great game to watch, and huge win for his team, which was Illinois Indiana, which only won 2 games, and both of their games I would say were like pretty difficult wins. So they seems like they need harder games. The harder the games are, the better they do. Next up, we got Oreo getting a 10-9-9-9 win, which is the craziest you could get. Like the closest you could get is a 10-9-9 against Rowan, Giggs, and Simon B. This was a game that I actually had the privilege of listening to the VC for most of the game, and it was just a lot of fun. Listening to the back and forth. I think Simon B actually got like 2 free pulls somehow to bring him from 7 to 9. And every player basically were like a roll away from the win or like missing 1 resource. So very, very intense and competitive game. Moving along, we got iFan getting back-to-back VP pulls for both of his wins this tournament on 2 extremely close games. Both had players that ended on 9 points, so if he didn't pull the VP, who knows what could have happened, right? And one game notably only had 1 7 roll. And it wasn't a game where they didn't roll a lot of dice. Like there was like a lot of rolls, but somehow they only rolled 1 7. So just really crazy, really improbable stuff to see since 7 is supposed to be the most rolled number. Next up, we got DJC5, who probably had the most epic win I've ever seen this tournament. So in this tournament, there was a game where he actually faked having the win in hand. He made a fake out where he told other players, my devs are a VP and a mono, and no matter what you do, I basically have the win in hand. And basically it got all the players at that table to start chucking away their resources. So they fed Swood, who went right before DJC5, all the resources, and Swood didn't scam anyone. He ported the resources away, like 3-1, 4-1, whatever, just to like decrease the hand size of all the players at the table. There was a player that actually probably ported away like a full city just to dodge this mono. And DJZ was like, it doesn't even matter what you guys port. I can mono like 1 resource and win this game. And then when it got to his turn, he did not have a VP. He actually did have to mono. He mono something, but didn't have to win yet. But he did end up coming back for the win. So Huge fake out there, and I think if he hadn't done that, maybe someone else would have won. It was really interesting to watch. First time seeing that done in a tournament. So or in a game in general. Next up, we got Chafa winning 10-9-9-9 against Stevie, Ebux, and Prescott. Again, just rare occurrences to see 10-9-9-9 game. I think I might have missed this one actually in terms of viewing it, but huge win. Chapa came in as a sub, and he ended up with one of the best games of this tournament, which is pretty crazy. And last but certainly not least, we got Texas coming out with a 5 game win streak at the very end. And there was a lot of epic games. Notably, Poetry and Lotion did sub for 2 of the games, so he technically contributed 3 out of 5 wins. And in one of the games, he did a dirty mono. He did a dirty mono, and it was probably one of the most beautiful dirty mono I've ever seen. He got himself 3 cities from the dirty mono. So, just huge. I believe it was 3 cities. I just remember it was like a crazy point jump, and just insane to see in such a competitive game. So those are the top 10 highlights I have for this tournament. If anyone wants to check these games out in detail, we do have probably screenshots or chat discussions or like records of them somewhere. Join the New York City Catan server. If you want to play in the next tournament, join the New York City Catan server. You want to meet some of these players, you want to go to New York City and play in our competitive Catan scene, or if you live in New York City already and want to play, join the New York City Catan server. I will link it below this YouTube video. And last but certainly not least, I want to give a bunch of players and communities some shout outs for, just the work they've done for this tournament, the inspiration they've been able to provide me. So first off, I want to give a shout out to Gigs, who was actually the player that kind of got this idea rolling in my mind a little bit. I think I've always wanted to do something like this, something that was like more team-based. Gigs had played a couple of Florida-only games on Danny Drew and Kelly C stream with the 2 of them and Drama Llama. And after playing those games, she was like, hey, I kind of want to play with them, not against them, right? So I was like, okay, that sounds like a really great idea, and it got my mind rolling to make this tournament happen. And later on, Gigs decided to join the bots admin team, and she has helped out with making sure tables schedule their games on time. She's done work with the bots logo, which she designed, and you can see that on all of the streamers' streams. Although I think some of the streamers have different logos from each other, so I think, like, for example, I think Vamos and Kelly Cia and Flying Chinaman are all using like different versions of the logo that Gigs made for bots, but it's perfectly fine. I think Gigs just actually overworked, and she made like a couple different designs. And we never like agreed on which one was D1 because they all just looked amazing. So, really great job from Gigs. Really happy to have her on the team. And I guess since I'm here already, she will want me to do this, and I will do this for her. Please sign up for Catan Community's 2v2 Cities and Nights tournament. She is hosting that one along with Zebra and Weekcoin, and she will really appreciate it if you sign up. So, yeah, do us a favor. So next up, we got Rowan the Boat, who is also a bots admin team. And, I brought him on because he was so funny enough. Rowan the Boat and Hakuna Matata actually signed up for this tournament so early that I didn't even complete the sign up form. I posted the sign up form on the New York City Catan Discord, and I actually forgot to put in a field for player name. So they signed up, and I was like, crap, who are these 2 people that signed up, right? So Rowan was the first person to sign up, Hakuna was second. I reached out to Rowan. He was happy to be on the bots admin team, and I was very thankful about that. I think, having someone that has more experience with some of these players from a different community, from Catan Championships, was really nice. So Rowan provided that, and just general game expertise that he had in terms of like if we need moderation for things like king making or unfair targeting. Thankfully, we had 0 tickets, so no king making accusations, no unfair targeting accusations, No one used any inappropriate language. Everyone was, playing their best game, having a great time. Really happy about that. As I say, moderation is basically like medicine, right? You want people to be there for moderation. You don't want it to happen. And I'm happy that we did not have to take any medicine for this tournament. Next up, we got Vamos, who his full Twitch name is Vamos Cosmos 719 Gaming. We're really close friends now, and basically he's really brought me on as a co-host to No One Wants Your Forking Sheep, which I've had such a pleasure of doing. We've gotten the pleasure of interviewing people like Elise de la Paz, who won the Canadian Nationals this year. We had, or in 2022 rather, we had Hakuna Matata come on as a guest speaker, as someone that was basically a very huge content creator, still is actually. I don't know why I said was. He made great videos on U.S. nationals, on things like chilling effect and like economics of Catan, and just really cool stuff. We had him on. We had Lumen Sperling, who was a Agricola professional player, on, and he's also played Catan in the past. So that was really cool. We even had a mental health episode with Serenator, who is a mental health professional, and that was probably like my favorite episode just because of how important mental health is to me personally. I feel like it's very important, and just how the Catan scene interacts with mental health is very interesting, since I think Catan could be a game that could be very good or very bad for your mental health, depending on how you play, how you look at things. And Vamos has streamed all of his games this tournament, plus some more. He streamed some other games that people played in, that his teammates played in. So really happy for all the work he's done for this tournament, and also just inspiring me to be a co-host to work on content and really get familiar with that side of things. Next set of shoutouts I want to give out to the rest of the streamers in this tournament: Flying Chinaman, Kelly C, Awesome Agra, and The Real Ruby. All of them have streamed basically all of their games, and I think Flying Chinaman actually streamed some of his teammates' games as well. All of these streamers are getting bigger and bigger every single day. Kelly C particularly has been extremely active, and just watching him develop as a streamer, just amazing to see. Flying Chinaman wants to work on more Cities and Nights content, and he's got a new laptop, so be on the lookout for his channel. And thank you to Awesome Agra and Real Ruby as well. Great Twitch channels. Just really happy about all of the streamers that have decided to take part in this awesome event. And just get this out there for people to view at night when they're bored, when they want to watch some Catan. Next up, I want to give a shout to Danny Drew, who is technically also a streamer, but he is currently now more focused on creating YouTube content. And he actually created a video from the Battle of the States tournament that has gotten more publicity to Battle of the States and New York City Catan server in general. I've had already a couple people reach out to me about this tournament, saying that they were interested in doing something similar, maybe like a worldwide tournament kind of thing, or like a tournament that was like in their specific region. So I love the inspiration that Danny Drew's video has built, and yeah, it's amazing. Just great. Thank you all. Thank you for all the outreach that you've given to this tournament. Next up, I want to give a shout out to Big Red Swimmer, who was really the person that got me motivated to create the New York Catan server in the first place. Big Red Swimmer, he hosts all these tournaments in the New York City Catan scene. There's like 100 people that show up to these events. Huge. I think he's the only person that could do it. Just handling 100 people to play Catan in 2 days is pretty crazy for me. So one day he reached out to me. He asked for a small favor. He's like, I'm not that familiar with Discord. I know you are. Do you want to create this server for me and for the New York City Catan scene? I was like, sure, why not? And that's how this all started, honestly. So huge shout out to him. I really still don't know how he is able to manage hosting these tournaments, and he does them like 5 times a year or something like that. Just crazy. funny story, at the previous tournament, his laptop was like creating this like very loud noise because the fan was a bit busted on his laptop, and I was sitting like right behind him. And I'm like, dude, this is getting a little scary, like you know. So yeah, that was a funny story. You know, just shows you some of the struggles that goes into hosting tournament. In addition to dealing with people, you also got to make sure your technology is intact, right? Um, Next up, I want to give shout outs to people that, you know, did not directly contribute as like an admin or streamer, or, you know, someone that did like a lot of work for the tournament, but they really provide a lot of inspirational value to me, as a player and as a tournament host. So, first up, I want to give a shout out to Retired Hero, who actually joined the server after, you know, technically retiring from Catan, and really just gave me a lot of, you know, words of approval and, you know, motivation to keep going as well. But other than that, like, Retired Hero really got me into playing Catan continuously back then when he hosted the Tuesday nights, and he created this game 2 crew, we call it, which, you know, he hosted like 3 games every night. For me, the timing just worked out that I always played game 2, and same situation happened for Hakuna Matata and Ivy, right? So the four of us would play, regularly every Tuesday. He also hosted a tournament himself that was very unique called Retired Heroes Best Flocking Catan Tournament Extravaganza. Pretty long name, but it was an amazing tournament with 16 people that he invited personally, and I was, you know, lucky enough to be one of them. And he basically had like all these activities in between where like he had balloons, and you would like pop balloons, and you would like make like fantasy guesses, and like there was all these stuff. I remember for the final of that tournament, we played a game where we used the goon strategy, which is basically like all four players would place on a one hex spot on the way back, or like four on a one hex spot for one of their two placements, and it was just a lot of fun. Like just, you know, creating interesting game modes like that. Just a really cool tournament, very chilled tournament. Everyone was nice to each other, but still maintain a competitive environment. Everyone plays super well, and I kind of wanted to recreate something like that, and I felt like Battle of the States was probably something that was quite close to it, I would like to say. So, really happy for all the inspiration he's provided me, and just setting the mood for Catan, for the Catan scene too. I really like his 3 DOs, which is, you know, do good, do no harm, and do better. Just really inspirational messaging, and I think it's something that, you know, in and outside of Catan, everyone should live by. Also, he motivated me to exercise even during the pandemic. So like on his streams, he would have like people doing like push-ups with him, doing yoga and like all this stuff, and I was just like, dude, like very thankful for all of the stuff he's provided during that time. Next up, I want to give a shout out to DJZ5, who, you know, was again a huge inspiration to me. He hosted the Settlers series. He is the Settlers series server lead basically, and he hosted the Settlers League, which was a tournament of like I think around 60, you know, people that had to meet certain qualifications before playing, and it was I would still say by this day like the most high level tournament, highest skilled. Only tournament that could compete with it is probably, Catan Players Invitational, which has hosted 2 seasons so far, and I had the pleasure of making it to the finals for both. So really love CPI, but you know the Settlers League or TSL was kind of the idea before CPI, right? And DJC5 really did a lot of work there. He's motivated me to be a co-commentator when I had the pleasure of co-commentating on his stream, on Vamo's stream, on Shin's stream. He's taught me a lot about, you know, certain things such as like moderation and how to handle certain situations that could come up inside of a Catan tournament. You know, so definitely really happy that he actually came back to play in this tournament as well. And he even said that like he had no interest of really like coming back to the Catan scene really. He kind of saw himself as like, retired as well. But because I invited him to this tournament, and he really, I guess, respected me as a person, he decided to play in the Battle of the States tournament, and I just, I just felt so good. Definitely a special place in my heart for DJC5 for coming back just to play in my tournament. And last but certainly not least, I want to give a special shout out to Catan Community, which was a server that really built me up as both a player and a host slash moderator, right? So as I mentioned before, Catan Community was the first server I joined. Everyone was super nice. I made tons of friends through Catan Community, and many of them I've met in real life as well. So like, just to give an example of how far connections in the Catan world could go, I recently got engaged around 2.5 months ago, and the engagement photographer that I hired was Jazz, who is a moderator in the Catan community server, right? So I met her through there, and I learned about what she does. She says that she does engagement photography professionally on the side, and I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Let me come out to San Fran with a beautiful scenery. She was there, shot amazing photos. Also, I played in a tournament in Seattle where I got to, play puzzles in the final table recently. Didn't win, but had a blast. And then we also had a lot of fun with Santos, Wookie, Stardust, Jazz, who also came up to, Seattle. And, we just had a blast. And, whether I met you in real life or not, everyone in Catan community has really just been super supportive. I've learned so much about hosting tournaments, moderating, even learning about how the bots work inside of Catan community, because we have robots or stuff that we've built integrated with Discord, and also just learning all this stuff about Discord settings, just so much, and just meeting so many amazing people, right? So with that said, I want to close off this video. It's already been super long. But please be on the lookout for more stuff coming from Don Catan YouTube channel. I am going to start working on a new concept called Catan Player Reactions, where myself as a Catan player will react to a video of a stream of my game, right? So, I want to see where it goes, and maybe there's certain reactions to like, oh, I would have done a different move in the stream, right? Instead of doing this, I might have done that, and things that like certain players might give feedback during the stream, or the streamer might give feedback. So let's say it's like David George's stream of my CPI semifinals. Like, I want to see what people said about my plays, other players' plays, what kind of feedback I got, what I've thought differently in certain areas, when I've spoken differently, if I could go back. Just, something that hasn't been done before that I really want to try out. So please be on the lookout for all of that. With that said, peace out, everyone.